Last week, Rockstar released the trailer to GTA 6, which I know sent many of us absolutely crazy because I was the same. One of the biggest things GTA gets its props for is its just perfect portrayal of America and American society, despite the fact it's developed by a studio that is primarily based in Scotland. But the gap in time between the first GTA 5 trailer, which released 12 years ago on the 2nd of November 2011, and the GTA 6 trailer, now in December 2023, has seen a lot of political and cultural changes in the world. Not to mention the fact that two games are based in states which have seen further and further political divide in that time. Southern California is typically seen as widely politically homogenous, with only one constituent county, Kern, turning red in the 2020 general election. Meanwhile, Florida is the quintessential purple state, with really only the major metropolitan areas adding any meaningful blue votes to their tally. Perhaps more relevant to these games in particular, Miami-Dade County was one of the most scrutinized during the 2020 election, with the Cuban vote there being widely swung by propaganda about Biden's alleged socialism and being a massive make-or-break demographic. A significant portion of the Puerto Rican vote also ended up going to Trump as well, turning the county into one which is not just racially diverse, but very politically diverse too. These points considered, it wouldn't be unexpected for the stereotypes of America and American society to be represented differently in GTA 5 and GTA 6, and their trailers may give us some insight into how that would be. 2011, the time of release for the GTA 5 trailer, was a very different world. The US was 1 year off of re-electing Barack Obama to office, Instagram had only existed for 1 year, and the iPhone 4S had just been unveiled the previous month. Same-sex marriage would remain illegal in the US for another 4 years, and the dawn of the short-form content era would still need over another year to wait until Vine hit the market. The way we consumed content, discussed politics, and expressed ourselves as individuals as part of a wider societal system was very different to the complete chaos that we know of today. The bridge between the normal world and the rich and famous was one which still felt a little bit too much to traverse. The GTA 5 trailer begins with iconic idyllic scenes of Los Santos, showing its appeal and outward wonder, the veneer on top of a patchwork society to which we would next be introduced. Los Santos is supposed to look nice, as Michael's voiceover describes his own idealization of the easy San Andreas life, being a rich man with a beautiful family in a place that could promise him endless paradise. The first demonstration of political divide comes with contrasting shots of a new luxury skyrise being advertised in downtown, followed by a foreclosure sign being erected outside of someone's house. The trailer itself was released a couple years after the subprime mortgage crisis of 2008 and the subsequent Great Recession, which officially ended in 2009. In this time, housing prices were still sinking, with the house price index only rising for the first time since 2005 in 2012. The representation of homes being lost by those who could no longer afford them wasn't out of place, especially in a state that is known to be inhabited by the rich. But combine this with the development of luxury apartment complexes, a strong parallel to the fact that LA's downtown saw the highest number of luxury residences built in the decade from 2010 to 2020, according to LA Magazine, and you have a very telling story. With LA already being largely famous for its significant homeless population, in June 2023, it was reported by the San Francisco Chronicle that Los Angeles had the second highest rate of homelessness in the country at over 1%. Interestingly enough, Miami-Dade ranked in at number 16 with a homelessness rate of about 0.1%. The wealth disparity of Los Santos is a concept that is clearly communicated early on in the GTA 5 trailer. In fact, later in the trailer, we get to see a homeless man front and center, shown in a Skid Row-esque environment, except instead of his plaque requesting money for shelter, it's asking for money for certain substances, with the addendum of "there's no point in me bullshitting you." This is a pretty on-the-nose take to common attitudes towards the homeless, suggesting that they are no-gooders who will take goodwill and charity and spend it on getting drunk or high. Not to mention the somewhat commonplace cultural experience that the homeless of specifically Los Angeles are just a bit crazy. Serving as a character trope in their own environment, Rockstar would be remiss to omit them as a major representation in a trailer for a game mocking this city. That said, the clip doesn't only poke fun of the homeless problem of Los Angeles, one which a 2019 poll found to be what LA residents considered to be LA's biggest problem, but also the overarching theme of the trailer of hedonism at all rungs of the class ladder. The general feeling that Los Santos is a city full of vapid people living superficial lives with hedonistic aims. The rich men spending their time on golf, the focus on soliciting sex and driving fast cars, etc. Even in the dregs of poverty, citizens just want to pursue a sense of pleasure. It wouldn't be GTA without violence, police chases, and action, but in the GTA 5 trailer, it specifically shows police conflict with a black man. The most recent census at the time of trailer release was the 2010 US Census, which showed African Americans as the fourth most abundant racial demographic in Los Angeles County. However, tensions with the police in the region had been long documented, and notably looking back to the 1992 LA riots, which stemmed from the acts of police brutality enacted against African American Rodney King. African Americans sustain a strong cultural identity within Southern California, especially considering the very popular style of West Coast hip-hop, born from the original days of Alonzo Williams and the world-class Wrecking Crew, birthing giants such as Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and Kendrick Lamar. Thus, from both a cultural and political perspective, the role of the black population on the identity of LA is one which is particularly poignant, despite the fact that it doesn't make one of the top 3 population demographics. It's worth noting, however, that this representation of race relations in LA is not one which is only characteristic of the political landscape of 2011. If anything, it's become a more prominent talking point that has especially been facilitated by the accessibility of social media. That said, one of the big cultural explorations within the GTA 5 story is the contrast between the predominantly white and predominantly black communities within Los Santos, namely through the perspectives of Trevor and Franklin respectively. This isn't shown in the trailer, of course, however the poignant decision to have a black man be pursued by a police chase is a purposeful nod to the state of race relations in LA and the United States as a whole. Overall, the trailer focuses hard on the disparities between class and levels of wealth present in Los Angeles, but connects them all with their shared desires: substances, sex, serenity, stardom, overlaid by a voiceover of a middle-aged man whose narration gives a sense of retiring from a different life to a place where he knew what he was going to get, that the soul of Los Santos was a constant upon which he could rely to have the life he envisions ahead of him, the music choice over the trailer having a classic West Coast theme with little tension and drive, also adding to the sense of things have always been the same here. The idea is that Los Santos is a massive city with its own devolved communities who may never cross paths due to their separate experiences, and yet draws connections between these groups, and of course, as we now know, pulls together a story of 3 men who come from, and like, different parts of this culture, and realize the gaps between them are not that big after all. Fast forward 12 years, and we have the GTA 6 trailer of 2023. In that time, we have had 1 term of a Trump presidency, complete with 2 impeachments, a historic overhaul of the Supreme Court, and vital cultural and political arguments dividing the country, anything from the existence of cancel culture to the Dobbs decision of 2022. Our lives are more fundamentally connected to social media, and its influence has been credited for the growing partisan divide, the major distrust of mainstream media, and the incitement of major political action such as the January 6th insurrection, the Canadian truckers' protest, and the Black Lives Matter protests and subsequent riots of 2020. The world has survived a global pandemic which has ripped the guise off of acts of government corruption, as well as highlighting the flaws of American individualism, yet also told people that serving just themselves and their families was all the more important after everything they lost to the instruction of the ruling class. All in all, the story of the United States that has unfolded since the release of the GTA 5 trailer has left the country in a much different place to where it was before. And where better to represent the sheer breadth of types of people and opinions than Florida? Florida, or Leonida as it's called in GTA, is one of the US's most purple states, having voted Democrat in 2 of the 5 last general elections and never having a margin of higher than 5% amongst them. For the record, the 5% was in the 2004 general election, which saw Bush take his 2nd term. However, in the previous election, the margin was just 0.01%, a margin so slight that it caused the famous Bush versus Gore Supreme Court case regarding recounts in the state. Florida has also become something of a meme in popular culture, with staples such as the Florida Man meme used to highlight how absolutely unhinged and in its own world the state exists compared to the rest of the country. This 2019 article from The Guardian explores the history of the stereotype and draws it back to the 2000 election and its subsequent response, giving the impression that Floridians were none too intelligent. In 2016, it was reported that Florida ranks 42nd out of 50 states for education spending per head and 49th for the number of teachers per 100 students. Even with DeSantis' education budget for the 21 to 2022 fiscal year being the highest Florida had ever seen, Florida still ranked in the bottom 20 states for spending per pupil. And even though Florida's mental health spending overall ranks at one of the highest in the country, when looked at as a cost per capita, it actually turns out to be about $36 per person, one of the lowest budgets in the country. As a result, some of the social and welfare-related factors contributing to various issues within Floridian society are pretty clear. And with Miami being a hub of wealth, it's ranked 8th in the US cities with the highest number of millionaires and is home to 12 billionaires, the struggles and deprivation experienced by regular people there cannot be ignored. The first concept we're introduced to in the GTA 6 trailer characterizing Vice City is diversity. The contrasting environmental scenes flipping from gorgeous pink skies to the chain-link fences of a maximum security prison, to the famous landscape of South Beach, to the marshlands outside the city. Even the crowds congregating on the white sands of the coast comprise every kind of person you could imagine: race, body size, creed. Unlike the preened patchwork of Los Santos, Vice City is shown as a melting pot in which these different lives and lifestyles merge into one cultural experience. Rather than focus on the stark juxtaposition between the rich and poor, such as in the GTA 5 trailer, the GTA 6 trailer shines a light on the culture of young people and how wealth and culture is expressed in their communities. The pursuits of entertainment align far closer with the types of fun-loving seen on social media, which can be related perhaps even further back to the classic coming-of-age movie tropes, both mediums which have influenced the adolescent mind about what having fun is supposed to look like. The sitting on the car roof while speeding down the freeway, the strip club filled not with just dirty old men, as they are throughout the game in GTA 5, but more as a party for all. The iced-out aesthetic brandished by men who are not gang fighting but instead showing signs of friendship, the congregation of very clearly young people in sports cars experiencing the Ocean Drive nightlife, the capturing of Miami's famous party scene in a club filled with, again, young people. And the list goes on, showing the lives of the young and beautiful as they pose at penthouse pool parties and twerk on the tops of cars for the ever-watchful eye of social media. And that is one of the most important aspects of this trailer and the story it tells: the ubiquity of social media and the virality of the content and information shared there. It's no secret that every short-form video featured in the trailer is based on an actual viral TikTok from the last few years. But also the concept of that social media-driven lifestyle is what has encouraged this sense of blending and overlap amongst the young people, and even led to this spotlight on Miami as a city of young people, even though historically it has been known as the place where Canadians and New Englanders go to retire. Looking at media depicting the nightlife of Miami from the time of GTA 5's release, and you're reminded more of a school disco than the Technicolor mecca of party life that we know it to be today. This in and of itself is shaped by the political landscape of today. The growth of the EDM scene in America over the last decade has run parallel to the tumult felt politically in the country. And just as in previous generations, where the music waves at the time were used by young people to express their dissatisfaction for the political status quo, the party culture accompanied by EDM has become a way for young people to seek pleasure amongst scary and uncertain political times. Certain pockets of the world have become experts in capitalizing on the culture of fuck it, let's just have fun, and Miami is certainly one of those places. The presumed story of our main character is that of a woman who is just released from prison and entering into this chaotic world that perhaps doesn't look quite like how she remembers it before doing her time. The music and scenes used to build up the idea of Vice City give a sense of something new is about to happen, again harking back to themes reminiscent of the coming-of-age movies of the early 2000s. Except this time, social media is everywhere, and everyone wants a piece of it. It feels significantly less like the protagonist is about to disrupt the accepted way of life in Miami, as was more in line with Michael's position in the GTA 5 trailer, but more so that she and her partner are going to learn to navigate this chaotic, psychedelic, and hedonistic universe to find their place in the world. The picture painted of Vice City in this trailer is one of a miscellany of people living on top of each other, pursuing pleasure over anything. The combination of types of people and implicit wealth disparity lead to interactions such as those in the trailer taken from real Florida man TikToks, but also leads to a much more socially empowered younger generation than we saw exemplified in the GTA 5 trailer. Sex is not used as a currency of wealth so much in Vice City as it was in Los Santos, as those engaging in sexually aggravated acts in the GTA 6 trailer are doing so with autonomy, suggesting a more sexually empowered population. The young people of the 2020s are using themselves and their actions as rebellions against the political landscape, and they're enjoying themselves while they're doing it. In essence, the GTA 5 trailer and GTA 6 trailer represent the bookends of the craziest 12 years in modern US politics, and the development of a society that's been shaped by those experiences. The commentary on class and wealth disparity is represented differently in the different cities, but also through the change in society as caused by social media. It took two of the most stereotyped and overly characterized cities in the US and exaggerated them tenfold, while also being able to accurately represent the different cultures of those societies and problems faced by their people in the respective years of their trailers' releases. Rockstar have long received props for their accurate portrayals of American stereotypes in society, but their success goes far deeper than simply taking cultural tropes of America. Every reference to American political decisions and their sociological impacts have been acutely studied, giving us a representation of modern America that blows the roof off of the uncanny valley and feels very much real. America has become a changed place in the time between those two trailers, for some in devastating ways. It was reported in 2021 that income inequality in the US had increased for the first time since 2011, and that's not even to mention the social impacts of removed rights for women, worsened skepticism of immigrants, the 410 plus school shootings that have occurred, the 3 presidents, the second coming of the civil rights movement, the global pandemic, the major recession, and all in all further bipartisan dividing, with the Overton window shifting ever more to the right. America still considers itself the most powerful country on Earth, but many people who live there feel its flaws affect their daily lives. In the era of social media, regular people have been given the opportunity to make stars of themselves and experience cultural relevance for lives for which they would have otherwise gone unnoticed. And with cultural relevance comes money and influence, and that capital is the new era of the American dream. America is its own center of the world, and Rockstar know that, just as any non-American does, and its culture and inner workings are perfectly unique. It is peculiar, yet addictive to watch, and affects almost everyone else on the planet. The people there have their own struggles and joys, and once again, Rockstar seem to have nailed that in their game. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the GTA 6 trailer and how you think Rockstar have done a great job, or maybe a shit job in your opinion, of portraying American society and culture. And let me know any of your thoughts about any of the points that I made. I had a really good time making this video. It took me a while to script, but let me know if you would like to see more things like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Someone is at my door. One sec.